On this month's episode of EdTech, we're going to be joined by Melissa Dillman talking about HDCP 2.2 Pro. We're going to be talking about whether or not this is a cash grab, a bonus, or just covering copyright. All this on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 51, Staring at HDCP. This episode of EdTech is brought to you by our underwriters. Underwriters like FSR.
This is EdTech.
This is EdTech, your monthly higher ed podcast. I'm Bill O'Donnell. This month, I'm joined by Melissa Dillman from Staring Marketing.
Hello, Bill. How you doing?
Hello. I'm also joined by Mike Tomei.
Hey, Bill.
How are you doing, sir?
Great.
And last but certainly not least, the illustrious Ernie Bailey. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Bill. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So we have Melissa on the show because she's been always at the forefront of upcoming technology as well as upcoming certain protocols and things that will be affecting folks. And the big thing, we had a chat before the show and everything, and it turns out that a specific manufacturer and some other groups decided to get into the business of setting a new level for HDCP, which, if you don't know, is high-definition copyright protection. That's the kind of stuff that runs along DisplayPort, Mini DisplayPort, Thunderbolt, HDMI, all that kind of fun stuff that if there's not a key exchange, it suddenly says, oh, it's not valid, and you'll see a green screen or a black screen, or you won't see anything at all, which, oddly enough, though, you will hear audio, but you won't see anything. But there's a new protocol or new level of this to HDCP 2.2, which is called HDCP 2.2 Pro. Now, Melissa, do you want to care to enlighten the audience on this one?
So, HDCP Pro, it has came to market just in the last few months. So, in doing some research, what I find is Biamp and another company that primarily specializes with hotel distribution came together and developed this new Pro component to HDCP. So, we've all been in the position to fight HDCP, especially in education.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all are always trying to send multiple displays. A lot of times you're using copywritten material, which is all fine and well. It becomes a headache, though, when we try to utilize it in large classrooms.
Mm-hmm. Or if we try to distribute it across, say, for example, if we have, a speaker at an auditorium or a lecture hall or something like that, and they're like, oh, yes, and here's some of my notes, and they've plugged in a MacBook or so, and the rest of the system just goes, what is this? And bam.
And bam, it's gone. So on the surface, this is really cool. HDCP Pro basically is taking away that license feature that says, I'm only going to go to one display for one source. What it does is it opens up the gates and says, okay, you can distribute this now across multiple places. And that's awesome, right? That's what we've been asking for on the Pro side.
Well, that's a wonderful free lunch.
That's a great free lunch.
Yeah, there are no free lunches.
But then you get a little further into it. And a little further into it, we find, that your integrator or somebody must be licensed by the HDCP folks.
Mm-hmm.
And while I don't know what that figure is, I'm sure it's not cheap because it's HDCP.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is it requires that at certain intervals, and I believe it's quarterly, that you have to come and make sure that you do your firmware updates. Basically what they're doing is checking to make sure that everything is current and up to date. And if you miss their deadline, you'll go black. So I'm seeing a little caveat there. While initially it looks great, boy, that time constriction and the licensing part of it kind of throw up a red flag for me.
Now, the thing that, there's multiple red flags. I mean, just
Yeah.
just hear me out on this one. Like Ernie, granted, we do have good rapport. Usually, folks have good rapports with good integrators and everything.
Right.
But in terms of all of a sudden hearing, hey, we have to come by your campus like 4 times a year just to do a software update. I'm not gonna lie, I'd be more inclined to say, yeah, just hand me the software and I'll go and do it. But
Well, I'm my own integrator.
oh, well, there you go.
I don't hire integrators. We do it all in house. So
Mhm.
So
what's
you're
it going to
gonna
cost
pay
me
the-
to license?
So you're going to pay the licensing fee. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And is there going to be an educational discount for that?
yeah, there's no discount.
Yeah, I know that. So,
So here's the next part of this that gets a little hinky. Another red flag that comes up. An article was released yesterday from the folks at BuyAmp, and what they're stipulating is that in order to stay in true alignment with the rules of HDCP 2.2,
Mm-hmm.
that every device on a network, if you're moving it via the network, that every device on that network would count as one of your hops, for lack of a better word. So with 2.2, you're now restricted to 32 different devices. So they're claiming if those network devices then would be part of that count.
So we're including your switches, even in some your routers. God help me if as I say, the switches and routers alone. It's like, just getting from building to building. Oh God, if you even go down the path of when you're transmitting across like a large campus, that might even include, say, the media converters / transceivers and everything.
So if you do that, if that's truly where this is going, it really throws a wrench into all those companies that are manufacturing devices to start moving your AV through your networks, right? So it looks like BuyAmp and HDCP are taking the approach that they're going to count absolutely every device that it touches.
That's as I say, there are words to use to describe this. Quaint is not one of them. Especially considering the fact that when you're talking like Ernie, and this is just a question for both you and Mike. When you guys go to have the classrooms, and there's a large number of large amount of equipment that requires network drops, are you guys doing home runs, or are you having like local switches in the rooms?
we're putting local switches in the rooms right now.
Okay.
In fact, the room I'm doing right now, it's a multi-purpose space, and there are actually 3 lecterns. Each lectern has a small switch in it.
Mm-hmm.
It goes back to a pair of 48 port switches in my main rack. Stuff bounces back and forth between them. Then to a 32 by 32 matrix. Goes from there out to multiple scalars, and from there to display devices. I just did a quick count. If I do a presentation and my source is at one of my lecterns, and I'm displaying it on all of my displays in that space, without trying real hard, I got to 22 devices.
So, yeah.
That's 7 displays.
It's an interesting, I personally, in my humble opinion,
it should be noted that Melissa is also a well-established member on the show MHO, or My Humble Opinion, which is also on AVNation.
Right.
In my humble opinion, I think this is going to be, this is taking us back to the day of the key counts again, like we used to have to do when this was first introduced.
Mm-hmm.
And back to that fight that happened originally when they argued whether or not you could assign new keys on the outputs of your devices, and whether or not that was a legal maneuver within the HDCP rules. So it'll be interesting to see how this sorts out. I saw Extron made an announcement today that they've just created their first HDCP 2.2 device.
Oh, which probably debuted at their steakhouse. Not that that's their testing lab.
So, if it's coming to market that quick, this is going to be something we need to get on our radars and figure out how we're going to handle it and really watch how this shakes down. I think it may be a faster pickup than original when we first got into, the one dots. So it's just something to put on your radar and be aware of. I mean, this could really be a pain factor, especially for universities.
Well, yeah, I mean, Ernie's just doing a rough count, and within just Ernie, that's all within one room, correct? It's as I say. I mean, granted, the internet, the network hops are going back to probably a network closet and coming back, but even still,
that's not even getting to the network closet.
Oh, well, there you go. You've already broken probably the 32. Melissa, it was what, 32?
32.
Yeah. 32. Yeah.
It's already.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's already.
Like I said, that was without trying.
Yeah.
A quick count, just going down the path.
Now, and my guess is that QSC is going to have an answer for this. Right? Because QSC that's part of their big promotion. Mm-hmm. They're moving across the networks, just like, AMX has their devices, and everybody has a device. This BIAMP is the first one that I've seen really step into this 2.2 Pro forum, and the reasoning being that they're claiming every device. I don't think anyone else has went down that path yet. So the battle will rage on.
It just kind of seems like I'm not going to say it almost seems like a punitive measure, really. Only in regards of, BIAMP does have some devices, but in breadth or in comparison against, say, what QSC is doing, as well as like Crestron and Extron, both Crestron and Extron have far more down the line developed products that are meant for, across the network. It almost seems like they're trying to either rein it in or say, well, no, you're going to have to pay, more for this. You really want all the cool stuff? Oh, it's going to cost you. And I don't know. It just seems like almost like a slowdown or just a cash grab. But that's just me.
Well, initially there was that fight. Some time at Kramer, obviously. And the initial fight, we assigned keys on every output to our displays. Mm-hmm. And there was a big argument for a long time as to whether or not that was a valid way to protect HDCP. Eventually, it was determined that yes, that was perfectly fine. Mm-hmm. I think this is sort of in that same vein. I think they're going to squabble about it for a while, and at the end of the day, I just can't imagine that 32 is going to hold up and network devices are going to count. But it seems to be the direction they're trying to go.
I'd like to say that I would like to agree with you on that one. It's just, I don't know. Folks are probably going to look at this and go and say, "Oh no, this is more licensing," and just they're going to go for the cash. But that's, as I say, that's capitalism, and that's the market for you. That's just that's the thing.
Let me throw out the scenario we do, in that we have students on multiple campuses in the same class. So, and we're video conferencing. Well, I cannot send HDCP across a video conferencing network.
No. Just about every. That's as I say, Melissa, I'm going to defer to you on that one.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Are we going to be able to send via our video conferencing network anything over HDCP 2.2 Pro?
No. Reason being, the whole point of HDCP is to protect the content. And once you release it into that video conferencing sphere, I can't protect it when it hits that far side. So I don't foresee a time in the near future that HDCP is going to say, well, go ahead. I don't think they're going to let that go. Now, maybe you could if you were doing Pro, but I'm going to doubt it unless it was controlled by you. I don't see where that's going to fly. It's all about protection.
Okay.
Fair enough.
And then once you start putting any sort of like lecture capture devices or recording devices in those classrooms, then it's a whole nother wrinkle. So
I've got that in every room too. And I wasn't even counting that a while ago.
Yeah. Add that to your list.
Because it comes back down the same path through the same devices. So it's going to hit every one of them twice.
There's some new devices that are going to do lecture capture. It'll be interesting to look at how they're handling this. because that the lecture capture has always been a problem, especially with HDCP, especially if you put that MAC in there. Now it's trying to encrypt everything, right?
Right.
Yep.
So but there's some new devices claiming they can do it. Let's see how they're doing it. For me, it's buyer beware right now. Make sure you're educated on all the ins and outs, and make me from the show me state. Prove it to me.
Yeah. It must be frustrating for these pro manufacturers to have to deal with these constant changes all the time. It's almost like the consumer market is driving these changes, and then the pro AV people, have to keep up with it. It must be really frustrating for manufacturers.
Well, and if you think about it, let's use Samsung, since they're in the news so much here lately.
Yeah.
If you look at Samsung, the biggest chunk of their income comes from the consumer, from the consumer side, right?
Yeah.
They don't really care what I'm doing on the pro side. I'm not a big enough piece of the pie. So therefore, I don't get that kind of voice.
Right.
When you're talking about what they can sell to consumers, they don't care. So it's a matter of us always trying to do the workaround, right? And figure out how can we make these devices work in legit situations like education.
Yeah.
I mean, by all rights, you guys have large rooms and multiple displays. You should be able to function. But that's just never been brought to the forefront for consideration.
Right.
It's it's one of those things in that I think in other shows we've talked about this. The consumer, excuse me, in the professional, there's the consumer AV world, which is about 80% of the market. Then after that, it goes into the varying shades. I mean, there's commercial, there's education. The education segment is growing, but comparatively, it's the other 80% says this is a good idea. Well, okay, you
When I started, education was 90% of the market.
Well, if you consider 4K, right?
Yeah.
We all have, this is a specific group, right? A special group. But are you guys running 4K displays at home yet?
At home, I have.
Yes.
I was gonna say I have a 4K TV that I picked up at Sam's Club, but
I mean that's where I am. I've got a 4K TV. I'm not really watching any 4K.
But we're
still.
sort of the AV, right? We're the early adopters. But for the most part, people are happy with their 1080p's. Yes?
Yeah.
These work great. We're happy with the image. They're in a majority of homes.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make manufacturers of displays any money.
Yeah.
So again, right, going back to what you're saying, they're going to push 4K because they need you to buy new displays.
All right.
Right? Mm-hmm. It's not something that we've asked for or demanded on the consumer side. So it's very much, the kind of the tail wagging the dog these days.
It is. The counter I will put to that, though, is that, and this is where it turns into the demand and the viewing of it, is that, remember a while back everyone was going, hey, we're going to be able to do 3D. Now 3D popped up for a little bit, and yes, you can still watch some stuff in 3D in the movie theaters, but you really haven't seen like the 3D displays have kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
Now that has been taken up by 4K, and you now also have a lot of as I say, there still are smart displays. Although with what's popped up in the news recently, I don't know if folks are going to be all that in favor of smart TVs much longer. In which they go, wait, folks can watch watch what I'm watching.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay, that makes me crazy, right? Yeah. I'm sorry. Anytime you put a camera or mic on it, there is a 6-year-old somewhere who can hack it.
Yeah. Well, that's
to think otherwise is foolish.
Oh no, it's and I have a friend who literally he does white hat hacking, and he will go to places like most of his business is made going to hospitals, and he said he'll make a list of all the things he finds access through, and he said a lot of the times it's the routine basic stuff. Now, this doesn't mean, swipe cards or anything. It literally means he'll go up and say, hey guys, I have to do I got to do a software update. And he's like, borrowed someone's contractor badge, and I look and I go, oh, all right, whatever. And he's like, he can just get in and do everything he needs. And in terms of relating that back to smart TVs and everything else, you think that they've really put in, high-end processing chips, nor have they put in high-end security on these things? No, folks looked and said, I want Netflix. Okay, what's the easiest way we can get the Netflix out? Okay, go. And that's it's in the same security vein on that one. And the fact that it's like all these, a lot of the IoT devices, it's like security. What's security?
Well, going back to your 3D bill,
Yeah.
I think 3D was way ahead of its time, right? It came out, but the hardware wasn't quite ready. Mm-hmm. My prediction is as we move to 8K and 120 hertz, that's where 3D gets its resurrection. Now you've got enough speed and enough bandwidth to actually make it functional.
Yeah, at that point, I think we'll be having fiber optics wired directly into the display, because that ain't gonna go on. That ain't gonna go along any bit of cat cable. No, the copper will melt at that rate.
Yeah,
but it's coming.
Fiber optics is a hologram.
Yeah.
Oh, I love holograms.
I fear the time of when we end up getting the holodeck, because you will just. From my own perspective, either A, folks won't want to leave their house, or B, if we have it on campus, it's going to be, okay, guys, you got to leave the holodeck. No, we're still doing stuff in here. I don't care. I'm going to shut the power off.
I get a hologram. I guarantee it'll look like Angelina Jolie.
Fair enough.
That's what I'm going to project.
Fair enough. As I say, you can do that. I'm going to do something where I end up looking along the lines of Brad Pitt. So there you go. So thank you, Melissa. That was, as I say, it's been a fun back and forth with this, in the fact that folks will hear about these things, and sometimes HDCP can be the magic thing where folks hear that and they just go, oh, I get it, okay, everything has to be copyrighted, blah blah blah, and it's like, no, you don't understand. This is how folks can pull the I got you. And then I had a discussion with a certain individual on my campus who will remain nameless, who I explained to him how they're trying to do an update to their room, and I said, hey guys, you have an analog system. The HDCP is going to shut this off. Oh, we have a Mac adapter. That'll take care of it. And I'm going, it's like that scene from The Princess Bride. You say those words. I don't think you know what it actually means. I don't think it means what you think it means. But, yes. So it's one of those ones of like, this is an important topic because, like Ernie said, when it comes to, hey, the lecture capture stuff, hey, the lecturer is coming in here. Sometimes they do have, like, say, software, or they're showing something that's only on their laptop because, they had to go and get licensing keys or something like that, if it's a CAD drawing, or say it's something in Maya, or just, hey, it's my PowerPoint presentation, and yes, I have put copyright protection on this thing because there's some patented info on this. Now, if he's willing to go to a college and do and agree to a lecture capture series on it and everything, obviously it's okay for public dissemination, but all these things are built in on the backside, and there are these I gotcha moments, and it's not always going to be, oh well, the switcher doesn't work. Well, no, it's not the switcher's fault. The switcher is doing exactly what it was manufactured for. It's folks have updated things, and we're trying to, the magic word is around here are always going to be, oh, is it in compliance? Which is a wonderful word. If you ever throw that out into the world of the DoD, that is like the death threat there. It's like, oh, you're not in compliance? Oh, bad things are going to happen to you.
Same thing in healthcare.
Yep. Yeah.
And
right.
don't forget that with 2.2, with HDCP, all of your devices are going to need to be 2.2.
Oh, it's not back. As I say,
it is backwards compatible, but when you're running a 4K, right, that's going to be encrypted 2.2, and then that's where we get in trouble, and everything will have to step back. So
that is some fun times.
It's going to be a good time. My friends at the Smithsonian have this challenge as well, right? Because Smithsonian does a lot of education.
Oh, yeah.
But it's encrypted.
Mm.
It's all copyright protected, right? All has HDCP on it. And when they're trying to use it for their own purposes, they can't strip that HDCP off. Even though they created it.
Yeah, even though they own it, yeah.
Yeah. So those poor guys have some interesting challenges as well.
And of course, they have an unlimited budget to take care of that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah.
Just like universities.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Please, for us, it's, we're doing a renovation. Oh, this one room got gutted? Oh, we can take care of that, no problem. Yeah, I don't have the VP of Capital Plans holding me to the fire for that. Not at all.
Yeah.
That never happens. So, but that aside, just if anything, Melissa, I did want to say thank you. This has just been a fun, just back and forth with everything, and the fact that honestly, it is an important. Like I said, it's one of those things. It ranks up there with the infrastructure, and whenever you hear this in the news and everything, folks talk about oh, we're going to be updating our infrastructure. Yeah, infrastructure is not sexy, but infrastructure is also what keeps everything moving. Mm-hmm. And in this case, it's if you don't follow this is going to be a very expensive update. And actually that actually does bring me to a separate question. Has this been finalized as it's going to be part of a new chipset, or is because this isn't just and I'm sure a couple of manufacturers will say, oh, it's just a firmware update. I'm like, yeah, I've dealt with HDCP. It's rarely is it ever a firmware update.
Yeah, I'm thinking this one is a chipset.
Oh, joy.
So yeah, so this will be a new and fun endeavor. So yeah, and the problem is there's not a ton of education taking place about it right now.
No, and that's actually why we brought you on the show for this one, because this is something that it's going to be affecting technology managers, and it's not just going to be we'll just throw something in the line. No, it's a complete infrastructural review, and it's just one of those things of just kind of folks have to be aware of that stuff.
Yes. Well, I'll be coming out, I'm sure, with some classes on it soon, but. It is. Just because no one else is talking about it. So we need to bring it to light so people will at least be able to be well informed.
Yeah. Now, actually, you spoke of some classes. Is Starin going to be putting out some classes on demand, or are these going to be available to the public? Or
Starin is going to be putting out some classes on demand. Funny thing, I come on board and all of a sudden
an educator of the year comes on board with a company and this happens?
Yeah, we're very excited. We have a new website getting ready to launch that is a resource where we will be putting a lot of education. And there's a big focus right now. I think we've got 12, 15 ready to launch. Everything's going to carry RUs. So if you have your certs from Infocom, you'll be able to get RUs for it. So we're really excited. All of that stuff's going to be coming out very soon.
Well, cool. Yeah, like I said, it's one of those just folks. Nothing hits education quicker than let's see, on demand, online, free is also the fun enticer too. But the fact that this can be at everyone's pace, I think, will really kind of cause folks to latch on.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that being said, Mike, as I say, if anything, how are you, sir? I do admit it's one of those, I know we've been very heavy in talking about this, and it's great to hear the feedback on this. From a consultant perspective, is this a major wrinkle, or is this going to be something that you're just going to look and say, okay, have to factor this in, let's see where this is going? Is it it's a down the line issue?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, it's not nothing minor, that's for sure. I mean, it's all the pain that everybody went through years ago when all of this started ramping up, making the switch from analog to digital, and then it could easily start happening again with these new standards that are coming out. So, yeah, it's definitely not a minor thing, but educating yourself and staying current is the key with this one. So
fair enough.
Yeah.
So yeah, Ernie, yeah, as I say, I can already tell you're going to be having a ball with. Just out of curiosity, how many of your rooms are equipped for lecture capture, and why do I have a sneaking suspicion it's going to be either a huge majority or all? But please let me. Please.
100%.
Oh, there we go. See.
And I mean, we lecture capture using Blackboard Collaborate. So if I've got a computer, I'm equipped for it. We put in AV bridges, Audio's AV bridge to bring our high def cameras and high level audio back into the computer. And we do that in every classroom we've got. I've got 2 rooms that don't have it. They're both slated for upgrades. In fact, I was working on the upgrade letter when we started the conference for those 2 rooms. That's my last 2. So.
Well, fair enough. Actually, that all right. So very cool. Sorry, there's just a mid-brain collision. There was a separate topic that Melissa and I were talking about that does affect Ernie, but that's a topic for another day. In general,
that's scary.
No. It's a good thing. I will say this: it's a good thing. We'll talk offline. It's fine. So that being said, Ernie, as I say, we've come to our end of the show here. Where can the fine folks find you online?
They can generally find me on LinkedIn.
All right.
That's right.
Fair enough. Mike, where can the folks find you?
I can. My website is the best place. It's tomeav.com. It's TOMEIAV.com. And again, another shameless plug. I'm teaching 2 classes at Infocom this year.
All right.
So when you go to sign up, search for my last name and sign up for the 2 classes. They're perfect for people that are in higher ed, technology management.
I would recommend that folks sign up early for that because if I remember correctly, last year, Mike, yours was at least one of them concerning ADA compatibility.
Yep.
Was standing room only, if I remember right. That was
pretty.
I couldn't get in the room.
See?
I'll save a seat for you, Ernie. In the front.
There you go.
Yeah.
But folks, if you can.
I was coming to heckle, so.
Oh, geez. All right, forget it then.
Well,
you're out.
Believe me, if I was there, Ernie and I would have been Waldorf and Statler. You can figure.
Oh, great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I would have had the white skull cap and all.
Nice.
So that is to say, once again, folks, if you're coming to Infocom, it's in Orlando this year, so it'll be nice and hot and sweaty. It's Orlando.
And humid.
Humid.
Oh, yeah.
It's hot and sweaty any place they have it, but you add humidity when you go to Orlando.
That's true. At least, as I say, the standard with Vegas is, well, it's a dry heat.
Dry heat, yeah. It's a dry 106.
Yeah. So that being said, if you give you a chance, please, by all means, if you're coming to Infocom, Mike is a great instructor. He will be giving out some great tips and tricks. Not to be outdone by that, I'm sure, as I say, Melissa is also a Infocom Educator of the Year. And she is quite well versed. I am happily admitted a student, a former Kramer certified digitalist by her. Melissa, where can the fine folks find you at?
Well, you can find me on Twitter at Melissa Dillman, or you can email me at melissa.dillman@starin.biz.
Well, fair enough. Thank you very much. Everyone, I wanted to say thanks for your time, and we will see you next month.